Ayo, artists and musicians.
Who, us?
Yeah, do you want your own vinyl records?
Yeah, but I can't order 1,000 of them. Or wait like a year to get them. Yeah, we're going on tour in 2 months.
Check out our friends lathecuts.com. They'll make you vinyl singles in quantities as small as 50 copies and as quickly as 3 or 4 weeks.
Get out of here.
You heard me right. All their pricing is a la carte, and they can help you pick a package that fits your budget.
Okay, who we talk to about this?
You need to email my buddy Mike. His address is lathecuts@yahoo.com. And if you mention low profile, you'll get a 10% overrun on your order.
So if I order 50 records?
Mike's gonna send you 55.
If I order 75, I guess you would get 82 and a half?
Something like that. Remember, you gotta mention low profile to get that deal, and it won't be around forever.
What was the address again?
That's lathecuts@yahoo.com. Custom-made records in small quantities. Mention low profile to get a 10% overrun on your order.
And emailing now.
What's up, fam? This is Markley Morrison, and you're listening to Low Profile. Our featured guest today is the producer and composer Jim O'Rourke, who spoke to us from his home in rural Japan, where he's lived for the past decade and a half. If you don't know him by name, chances are you're familiar with some of his work. He's got credits working with Sonic Youth, Joanna Newsom, Stereolab, Wilco, Gastr del Sol, as well as movie soundtracks like School of Rock and even Grizzly Man. My co-host today is Dylan Shearer, who, like me, was turned on to a whole world of sounds through Jim O'Rourke. There's a lot to unpack in today's show, but before I play you the interview, here's Sean O'Hagan from the Llamas and Stereolab to say a few words about Jim.
Okay, this is Sean O'Hagan talking about Jim O'Rourke. When I think back to those days in the 90s when I was working with Jim and he was coming to the UK and staying with me, and it's remarkable because the guy's a visionary and I had that time with him. It was amazing. He worked on Llamas records, Stereolab records, and I seemed to be around an awful lot. We discussed music. He was a voracious consumer of music. He'd be working on another collaboration, but then he would be forcing me to listen to Presence by Led Zeppelin. I didn't listen to Led Zeppelin, but Jim would say, you got to listen to this, or you got to listen to Supertramp, as well as Fahey and all the rest of it. I mean, the guy, he wasn't judgmental. He was an absolute voracious consumer and lover. He just lived in a musical world and always has, and I think to this day it is music and films are his absolute love. It was a joy knowing him. I would love to meet him again at some point.
I may be dressed as a doctor, dear, but I'm not. I'm just acting up.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for thinking of me.
Yeah. I reckon you're busy as usual. What have you been working on this week?
I'm mixing a record for my friend Max Gustafsson, which is like a jazz big band thing. So it has about 40 people playing on it. And of course, as soon as everyone gets going into the stratosphere, everyone's off mic because they're probably moving around in ecstasy.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
It's probably
That's
fun
been
to chase around on the boards then.
Yeah, fun isn't the operable word. Yeah, I've been doing that. Mostly doing things for friends.
What did your parents listen to that stuck with you when you were small?
My parents didn't listen to music. The only music they listened to was the Irish Hour on either Saturday morning or Sunday morning. It was a radio show. Otherwise, my mother didn't listen to music at all. My father had a few like Elvis records, things from the period. Otherwise, they weren't interested. There was no music in the house at all, except for what I was listening to.
Okay, so that wasn't inherited then.
No, very unused. No music in my family at all.
They're from Ireland. Did you live in Ireland when you were little?
I spent time there as a kid, but yeah, they're from Ireland. I didn't full on live in Ireland, but I spent enough time there as a kid to for it to. I don't think at the time an influence, but eventually, and the fact that they never really became American. I mean, legally they did, but they never really adopted any Americanisms. Yeah, there was very little culture in the house, right? Outside of, Sunday morning. The Irish Hour and all the other things that happen on Sunday that the Irish must do.
Did you go to church and everything?
Oh, yeah, I was an altar boy.
Oh, wow.
I tried to leave it behind. That's the best anyone can do.
So were you playing church music at all? I read that you started playing guitar at age 6.
Yeah, I mean, I got like an acoustic guitar and I took lessons, I believe. I took lessons. But I don't think that, no, I was never good at keyboard, so I wasn't involved in any of the grade school. God, now that you mentioned it, I can't remember if there was any. I don't think until high school, I don't think I was playing in any school-related music. I must have been, though. But I don't remember. I know in high school there was concert band at the boys' school and there was orchestra at the girls' school, and I was in both of those.
Gotcha.
Playing double bass in the orchestra, and I played percussion and like marimba in the concert band. And then there was a jazz band in high school, and I played guitar and bass in the jazz band as well.
What warped your mind from at an early age to sort of eschew pop music and what was going on in that?
I didn't eschew pop music. I think probably because there wasn't much music in the house. I had no context, so everything I got into was just by going to the library. And if I liked something, I would always cross-reference it. It was, very easy. It's like something as simple as like, well, I like this record. It's on the ECM. What else is on ECM?
Yeah.
And at that time, it was, you'd walk into a record store and there'd be Frank Zappa posters on the wall or whatever. I mean, what people now considered weird music was not really looked upon that way
at the time.
I mean, it was still kind of part of the mainstream. Maybe not as successful, but most things were still being released on major labels.
Yeah.
So I mean, it wasn't like the stuff wasn't available. I mean, when I was a kid, even this is the 70s, so the real shift didn't really happen until like 82 or so, with the rise of like things like rough trade, this beginning of a real division of things that are existing outside of the mainstream.
Right, labels as like a culture factory.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it wasn't in the 70s. It wasn't difficult to find things that people would now consider strange. I didn't think it was strange. I just, whatever appealed to me, I would then cross-reference it to something else, and it was the same way with films. Basically the library, just by going to the library, and there was good radio in Chicago at the time too. And the most important thing probably is and I think it's countrywide, was the interlibrary loan.
Yeah.
I took advantage of that.
I remember one thing I did for almost a whole year is there was the list on the inside of, I think it's Freak Out.
Yeah, the Mothers of Invention, yeah.
There's a huge list that's that is in there of all the, all the people, here are the people you should check out. And I checked out everybody on the list. And if there wasn't anything in my library, I could get it sent there, so, and now it's so much easier.
It is. Back in the 90s, I was using your lists to find music oftentimes. I remember this list of like minimalist top 10 or something like that. Alan Lick did one too, and it was, I just was like, I got to hear all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, at that time, some of those are probably hard to get.
Yeah.
Are you contacting us from the Steam Room?
This is the Steam Room, yes.
Okay.
I mean, it's an abstract concept, but as concrete as it gets, this is it. Yeah.
Can you maybe describe the Steam Room, what that is for the listener?
Well, it's just wherever I have my studio.
Okay.
It's just my studio.
Where'd that come from, though? You've been using that name for decades.
That actually came from this.
Men's Steam Room.
I forget when I found this, but it was still when I lived with my parents, and so this has been like just hangs over the door of wherever my studio has been since. I dropped the men's part.
Yeah, I can see.
Did you ever use men's in the album credits? No. Right.
Actually, I actually totally forgot about. I mean, I've been here for quite a long time, and I actually forgot that that's been hanging there until you mentioned that.
Funny. So, I somewhat naively, I had mistakenly thought that you hadn't put out a whole lot of music in the last decade or so. And
well, I mean, not physically, no.
Right. Yeah. Like, the last thing I could go and buy at the record store was
Simple Songs.
Simple Songs.
It's like 7 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. Probably 8 by the time this comes out.
and then there's been a few. There's been 1 or 2, 3 or 4, 2 or 3 since
that you can buy in the States. Yeah, I wonder.
I think they're all out of print now. They're probably all out of print now. I mean, not like song records.
Right, right. There's a piece called 6 Views of a Secret. It's a 1-track album, about 40 minutes. Definitely reminded me of some of the work you were doing on Mego in the late 90s, early aughties.
Oh, yeah. I sort of remember that one. There's a lot of organ in that one, isn't there? A lot of organ.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's all, fake is not the right word, but I mean, that's all
synthetic,
programming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all synthetic. Yeah, it's nothing real being played. And I'm not even playing it, actually.
Are you doing much ensemble work these days?
No, very little. Only band or anything like that I play in is Eiko Ishibashi's, and that only happens maybe 2 or 3 times a year. And then the group Eiko and I have with Tatsisa Yamamoto, we only play maybe once a year. Otherwise, no. I mean, since I moved out of Tokyo, I'm basically just in this room every day.
Oh, you're out of Tokyo now?
Yeah, I moved out of Tokyo about 7 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So I live up in the mountains, in the middle of the country.
Oh, cool.
Mount Fuji, right up this window to my left.
What's your what's like kind of your daytime routine out of the steam room? What is there to do where you live?
Oh, to do?
Yeah.
Well, there's plenty to do in here, so.
Sure.
Basically, I wake up, we have coffee and smoke, a few cigarettes, and then I come in here, and Aiko goes to her studio, and we work usually until 10 at night, and then I cook, and we watch a few movies, and then start over. I mean, that's basically work every day about 12 to 14 hours a day.
You bring some Chicago flavor to your kitchen?
No.
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 Fully transitioned, yeah.
Put the past behind you.
Yeah, well, I've been a vegetarian since I was like 13, so Chicago cuisine, except for Lou Malnati's pizza, which I would like to eat one more time. Outside of that, yeah, there's no real Chicago cuisine that I really ate much after a certain age, actually.
Sure.
I remember places when I was younger. I remember Jeans and Jude's, which is a hot dog / cocaine dispensary next to the Thirsty Whale. Thirsty Whale was like this heavy metal club in Chicago in the 70s and early 80s.
Are you still doing film scoring? We just watched one from a few years back. And but we kind of wanted to pick your brain about that whole process, that gig.
No, I actually I haven't gotten many offers to do film scores. I actually haven't done that many.
Well, we were watching The Creeping Garden, the documentary about slime. Did you score that? Did you compose that while watching the film? Are you playing live to the, like Neil Young did for Dead Man?
No, because one of the directors of the film was a film critic that specializes in Japanese films, and he was in Japan around the time I moved. A guy named Jasper Sharp. So he was just like a pal. So when they were making that film, he asked if I would make some music for it, and that was more of a situation where I understood what the film was about. He talked to me about it. And then I basically made stuff and sent it to them, and they put it where they wanted. It was more of a situation like that.
Okay. It had the effect of turning it from a kind of a PBS style documentary to giving it the feel of like a horror film.
Yeah, I mean that's what he wanted. We talked about how, like Saul Bass's Phase 4 and the tone he was going for. So it wasn't like a regular sort of like film scoring job where I got to take rushes or whatever. And it was basically sent them stuff to use, and they used it where they wanted.
Okay.
What about the Grizzly Man soundtrack? How'd you get connected to that?
That was 2 days in a recording studio in Berkeley, and Herzog was there, and basically we'd sit in the room and talk with Herzog, and he'd show us scenes, and then they'd hit record and we'd go. I mean, except for one thing, it was all improvised, and that was great though. That was great.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was really great. It was super great.
He seems like he's potentially a very silly guy.
Yes, he's very funny. He's very, very funny.
Yeah.
He's insanely funny. And he's very nice.
Yeah.
I mean, that all happened because of Henry Kaiser.
Oh, okay. He was part of that too, right?
Yeah, he was sort of like the producer of the session because he knew Richard Thompson. And Henry realized that this is one of the many nice things he's done for me. He realized that the cost of buying me a flight would be the same as paying like somebody to play out there in the Bay Area, because he knew I would do it for free. Of course, I didn't need any money for that. So Henry said, would you come out here and do this? And I was like, I'll pay to do that. so that was Henry's idea, that because he knew I could move between instruments and be just sort of like a utility player. So that was, I'm very grateful for that. But I mean, that session was led by Mr. Herzog and Mr. Thompson. But yeah, it was basically improvised. I think there's a video somewhere online. I know there's a documentary about the making of the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Which is really well made. But there's a thing where Mr. Thompson and I are doing I'm on piano and he's on guitar, and it's basically, that's just
right.
awesome.
Prepared piano situation.
Yeah.
Do you want to do prepared piano electric guitar?
Sure.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Herzog, obviously, like a legend that you're going to jump at the chance to work with in any way, shape, or form. Similarly, John Fahey, you kind of had a lot to do with his latter. Well,
I didn't have. I mean, there was other people who were really more responsible for that, like Byron Coley and Jeff Hunt, who ran Cable Elements. I just sort of helped.
You did help. Yeah, that's how I found out about him at a young age. It was through you. Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering if you might know something about Fahey that we don't, or if there's any, if you can isolate a memory that you might not have shared.
I mean, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Because I sort of on purpose never got super close to him. I sort of needed to be sort of outside of all of that. I mean, especially at that time, I mean, he really had, he didn't have much interest in playing guitar. And I think that's why at that time, I was not a person who would say, oh, when you played this piece, did you think of this? Or what if it was this? I mean, I just wouldn't talk with him like that.
Was that a dominant fourth on Voice of the Turtle? Just like
technical
that.
I saw it like when there would be shows where we'd be playing together, or we'd be in situations where other people would talk to him. I mean, it was constantly stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like guitar talk, and he really hated it.
Yeah.
I mean, he would. I mean, at least at that point in his life, he really. I mean, because he'd be really forthright about it, of his opinions of their questions. So so it's hard for me to say whether I actually know anything about him
that the layman or the casual fan might not. Yeah. So you guys didn't bro down too much, is what you're saying.
No, I mean, but he seemed to like me because he never turned on me. So he seemed to like me. Okay. I think, I mean, he was actually very nice to me, actually. And usually the times we met, it was usually for work, It wasn't really like the
beach picnics.
Hangout time. Although, I mean, there was, because he, at one point, I don't know what recording, but he was sort of living in my apartment for a little while.
Oh.
I mean, so, but I mean, just a couple of days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of gave him his. He kind of, I mean, in a way, he kind of demands he's going to have his space no matter where he is. So you either allow that and get out of the way, or you're a person who doesn't notice that and asks about the dominant fourth chord on this track. You know what I mean? It was kind of like you kind of had to choose. You and in that case you actually encounter it's like quantum physics. Once John Fahey becomes that John Fahey depending on what perspective you observe him from. There's all sorts of it's all the possibilities, and it collapses into the Fahey that you observe. So. I've never said that, but yeah, John Fahey was a bit like quantum physics.
Do you remember how you got hip to his?
I mean, it was just around. I didn't really get into him till later, maybe in college, but I had heard records. They were popular records. They'd be in the record store.
Yeah.
I don't know when I probably didn't really get into him until I sort of conflated what he was doing in my mind. I didn't conflate it. I later sort of like, oh, well, in a way, this is not unlike, Phil Nieblock or Tony Conrad or what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And once I started looking at his stuff that way, I had a much more interest in it, because other people like Leo Kottke and all these guys were technically better guitar players and probably would appeal to me more as a kid. Mm-hmm. That stuff no longer was appealing to me at all, although I know it's excellent. But once I started looking at Fahey's stuff from that perspective, it became much more, especially like a record like America.
Oh, yeah. Totally a bunny trail, but I was just wondering if you ever thought of writing a book.
No, not really, because I really hate writing.
Yeah.
I really hate doing emails, writing, and just writing is the one thing I really don't like doing.
Are you similar with lyrics?
I've only written lyrics when I had to.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean you had to? Like it was going to come out of you and you couldn't stop it, or like
because it's part of whatever that thing I'm making is. That's one of the elements. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, I've never written lyrics.
Did that start when you were in Gastr del Sol? Was that?
I didn't write any of the lyrics in Gastr. That was all David.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even on the Camoufleur, did you not write a song on there? Mouth Canyon?
Well, lyrics.
Lyrics.
No, lyrics.
Okay. So you didn't write those lyrics. Okay.
The lyrics are all David.
Okay.
I had no interest, and I had never written lyrics, so I don't think I even made a comment. Those are all David's.
So that started then with like the Drag City solo material, basically.
Yeah.
That's the genesis.
Yeah, basically, Eureka's.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just those three. It's just Eureka, Insignificance, and Simple Songs.
Mm-hmm. Well.
Oh, and I wrote some lyrics for the Loose Fur records.
Oh,
right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But
can't forget about that.
Yeah, and outside of that, I've never written lyrics. No.
Yeah. Not in the plans.
No. That's well over.
Yeah.
Unless you have to.
No, there's no more have to.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that.
So the sinister nature of a lot of those lyrics like kind of sneak up on you, though. I think that was that kind of the point?
No, I mean, I think they're funny.
Well, yeah.
And too many people can remember your name. Always walking you down memory lane. These things I say might seem to offend, but not half as much as I'd like to intend. 'Cause listen to you reminds me of a motor's endless drone, and how the deaf are so damn lucky.
I don't think of them as sinister at all. I just think they're funny. I know it's maybe not a sense of humor most people share, so they might be seen differently.
I guess it's a bit dark.
Dark humor.
Dark humor, for sure.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess.
To someone.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, I've seen darker.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
But yeah, I guess it falls into that. Yeah. But in general, yeah. I mean, I was.
So, yeah.
And plus it felt, who else was thinking of that?
Yeah, I was wondering if you would ever consider writing songs for others to sing and perform.
I have, but I didn't write the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
I've never written lyrics for anyone else. I've written songs for other people, but not lyrics. Well, I mean, in a way, but with Loose Fur, if Jeff sings the song, because usually the lyrics with Loose Fur is basically a lot of the lyrics were done by Jeff and I together,
right?
And it was basically like just trying to make the other. It was basically just trying to make the other person laugh. Mm-hmm. But even in Loose Fur, there was 2 or 3 songs that never ended up on the record because I went too far for Jeff in the black humor department.
Uh-huh.
And Jeff's like, I'm not singing this, which makes sense.
He resurfaced on the sidewalk on my block the other day. Yeah, it's a fact check, it's sorry, Charlie, honey, he's back from LA. So son, you better turn it around. Yeah, Christ is on his way across town. He was getting tired of hanging around. Yeah, he's back, Jack, smoking crack, find him if you wanna get found.
How did you and Jeff Tweedy start hanging out?
There was a festival in Chicago called Noise Pop where they would invite people to the festival and ask them what they wanted to do, like do a collaboration with this person, whatever. And Jeff wanted to do something with me, and so I got this call from either the Noise Pop people or straight from Jeff, and then I said, okay, why not? And he came over to my house, and basically I just was playing records for hours. And then we decided to, I don't remember, then I think went over to the loft and we just started writing stuff. And I decided it would be easier if my friend Glenn would come and play drums. Then it would make everything much easier. And then, of course, what happened then is already famous story. There's a giant 12 or 18 LP box that just came out about that story.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah, that's
So I mean, that's how it happened. That's really how it happened. I guess Jeff had heard Bad Timing before meeting me, and from what Jeff has told me is basically he thought that was a record that combined interests of outside of normal music, but wasn't academic, and he hadn't really heard anything that had that kind of tenor to it. So he was interested in meeting me. So that's really how it happened. He was asked by a festival to do something, and he decided he wanted to do a show with me. And the songs we wrote for that show, I think like the next week we went into what was the name of that studio? Went to a studio that was that my roommate at the time was an engineer at, and we just recorded the record in a couple days, the first Loose Fur record. But then I think right around that time, then afterwards is when all the mixing and Yankee Hotel started, and I think what happened was we were ready to put out the Loose Fur record right away, but the management of Wilco or something wanted us to wait until the Wilco album came out, and at that time I was like, oh, okay, that'll be like 6 months or something. But it ended up being like 2 years.
Oh wow!
Before
So you guys were sitting on that for a while.
Yeah. The Loose Fur record was recorded like 2 years before it came out.
Wow.
Huh.
It was recorded before Yankee Hotel Foxtrot.
Wow, that's
Or like while they were recording it.
Simultaneous. Yeah.
Because Glenn wasn't in Wilco then.
Right.
And so and you mostly you did your knob tweaking board work for that record, which is phenomenal stuff. Like that I had not heard mixing like that on like a commercial record. You had this similar role working with Joanna Newsom, but by proxy, Van Dyke Parks did work on that record as well. And did you guys cross paths?
No.
On that record? Because I know you're a nerd for Van Dyke.
No. I've only met Van Dyke briefly for like maybe 10 seconds in Japan about 15 years ago. No, the all the recording was already done when I came into the picture. And it was, I mean, it's sort of complicated because one of the things, if someone wanted a good mix, they can get a great engineer, Mm-hmm. It's not like I'm a great engineer. They can get Mr. Albini or other great engineers. My thing is that there's a certain thing that I do when I mix. And it's a kind of half, somewhere between mixing and producing, because I make editorial decisions.
Yeah.
And, I can understand some people don't like that, but that's what I do. And if that's what you want, I can do it.
Yeah, you're the guy.
If you like the particular way that I do. So with the Joanna record, it was sort of a strange situation because that's kind of what I was being brought in for. But that also means I would be making decisions about cutting parts of the orchestration.
Right.
Which in that case put me in a very awkward position.
Right. You're messing, for lack of a better word, you're messing with, Van Dyke Parks' new baby. And it seems like that's like a high pressure situation to be in.
It was a little bit unfair. It was kind of like good cop, bad cop.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It really was it was kind of that. And it's understandable. And I was never upset about it. But it really kind of was that. That's really what was going on. Mm-hmm. So, I wasn't intimidated because I was going to make that record sound what I thought it should sound like. And if that's not what she wanted, that's fine. But it is what she wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She knew. Yeah, usually I don't let people in the room. I don't let the band or whoever in the room when I mix. If you really want what you think I can do, you have to let me do it, you know. Or if you have ideas about what you want to sound like, then okay, then I'll engineer for you. But they're really two different things. Kind of, I've got to get into like completely different modes of working for those, you know.
Pa pointed out to me for the 100th time tonight the way the ladle leads to a dirt red bullet of light. Squint skyward and listen, loving him we move.
So yeah, but I wasn't intimidated by the Van Dyke thing. I mean, it was exciting, of course, but things had to be done.
Yeah, gotta get to work.
I was curious, how did you get involved with the Judy Sill mixing stuff that you did? I love that.
I got contacted by this guy. I forget his name now. He was sort of like the executive producer of that CD set that eventually came out. And I don't know how he knew of me or what. I don't know. I don't know how he knew that I was a Judy Sill fan, because at that time, you know, she really didn't know who she was.
Yeah.
It was like only like record collector friends or someone like that would know. So I don't know how he found out or decided to ask me, but he contacted me and asked me to do it. And I said, of course. Yeah. And at that time, that was actually mixed in my kitchen.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, or
the steam room in your kitchen.
I had very little equipment at the time. I mean, I've always wished I could remix that, but I mean, I could. I still have files, but yeah, I don't know how that came to pass. And you know, the funny thing is, it was recorded at Michael Nesmith's studio.
Oh, cool!
And,
wow!
And this is the real crazy thing. A lot of people overlook in the liner notes. The basics were recorded by what's his name? The American Paul McCartney passed away a few years ago.
Emmett Rhodes.
Emmett Rhodes, exactly.
Yeah.
That was a shot in the dark. Okay, cool.
Yeah, the basic tracks were recorded by Emmett Rhodes.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So I got to work on a record with Emmett Rhodes and Michael Nesmith.
God, that's a cool gig, man.
Yeah. Because I love Michael Nesmith.
Yeah, me too.
So, yeah, that one just came right out of the blue, and I have no idea how the guy knew I was a Judy Sill fan.
Did you hear a crystalline cry, shaking the quiet sky, echoing far, echoing wide? Was it just a silent goodbye from a heart bound and tied, tempered and fired and tried? Hear that rumbling, this fateful wind, with towers crumbling and giving in just one wind. There's gonna be a moment when new day coming.
I have some listener questions that I can
Sure.
shoot. So, in no particular order. Franklin wants to know, do you still have the plushie from the cover of Halfway to a Three-Way?
Absolutely. He sleeps by my side every night.
You got the little froggy?
And if I'm leaving home overnight, he goes with me. And Chompers as well. I've not been out of their sight in almost 40 years.
Wow, okay. Mitchell wants to know, what was it like doing the U.S. Maple stuff?
That was great. They were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That was their first record was actually the first real rock band that I'd ever recorded. I mean, I was mostly recording like quieter pop or jazz or whatever. up till then as an engineer. They were an amazing band. I think everyone in the band was brilliant. I could say everyone in the band was underrated, but Pat was amazing, the drummer. And the depth of Al's thinking about what he was doing vocally was really impressive. I'm still impressed to this day, the depth of his thinking and the work he put into it. I think they were absolutely brilliant. I never use the P word, but I'm happy that I got to do those first 2 records. Amazing musicians, and also amazing in the way that they didn't let their amazing musicianship get in the way of what they were trying to do. So I still have enormous respect for them. I'm glad I didn't screw up their first 2 records.
They hired the right guy.
Well, I don't think. At that level, it's not really like hiring, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think they were fantastic and sadly still underrated. People were still listening to them.
Mike Wilson sent us probably a good hour's worth of questions. So.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good ones. How do you picture your own legacy at this point? That's the easy one.
No, I don't think I have one.
Okay, yeah. Fair. Here's one that I know you've probably come across before. It's about your music and accessibility for streaming. Our friend April wants to know why, like, your Mego music isn't available to stream. And
well, it is.
Right. I found some on Bandcamp. So
basically, I just don't do Spotify. I didn't do Apple and those until the sound quality was good enough.
Ah, okay.
The business model of Apple Music isn't that great, but it's not. The thing is, I get to see this because, like, some things that I've done, like Sonic Youth stuff or the Wilco stuff, I have no right to say where any of that stuff should be.
Right.
So,
as a participant.
I was a participant. I don't have that right to say no. But because that stuff is up there, I've seen, what you get from Apple, and I've seen, so I know. Apple thing's not that bad. To me, that was just the sound quality's got to come up, and it did, and that was fine.
Still doing computer-based as your primary composition tool? Early-ish adapter of playing the computer before an audience.
I took the brunt of the resistance early on. Other people did, but there was definitely resistance at first.
I saw some of that when I saw you in LA.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In LA with Oval?
I want to say it was Red Krayola, but I can't remember. Nobukazu Takamura?
Oh, yeah, that was Nobukazu Takamura. Yeah, there was that tour too.
That's one I think I saw, yeah.
You going to tour Europe, North America, Antarctica?
No.
What would it
touring
take
for
to
me.
get you on tour?
I don't understand the appeal of that.
Yeah.
I'd much rather just sit at home and work. I just really don't understand the appeal of it. I mean, I've done one thing recently in Paris, but that was like a thing that I had written for orchestra and then like live multi-track sound.
Oh wow!
And that was I went for that because it was at the GRM, which was my like college years dream, was to do something at the GRM. So there was like, okay,
That's worth showing up for.
yeah. And plus, my partner Aiko, she had a European tour, and she doesn't speak English very well. So I basically was I went as a translator. And then she was like, okay, and this will happen. These things are happening at the same time. Okay, but outside in terms of touring, no, I don't want to do that.
You've been in Japan since what year?
Around, it's either 2005 or 2006. Oh, it's been about 17 years.
Do you think in Japanese now?
I do, yes. I don't speak English very often.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I have a weekly thing with a few friends, it's like a programming thing that we do every week. And since I've been doing that, my English has actually gotten better. Because I do at least speak 2 hours a week because of this Zoom meeting I do with friends from the UK. But before that, actually, my English was actually, it was a bit mangled. The grammar is different.
Yeah.
The sentence structure is different. So I would occasionally speak in English with the sentence structure of Japanese. But yeah, I speak enough now a week that it's okay.
Are you collaborating with others remotely, like
Yeah.
these days? Is
Yeah,
that
most of that stuff is like with really old friends, like even going back to like the 80s, you know.
yeah? Are you still buddies with any of the Illusion of Safety?
I mean, I hear from most of the people like sort of went off, like the people who were involved when I was involved. Most of them have been off the map for a long time. I mean, at least to me, you know, they stopped doing music. I still hear from Dan once in a while. I mean, I think Dan isn't even doing it very much anymore.
Was that the first proper like ensemble you were in, like band style?
No. But it was the first thing that I was in that I didn't start. That I wasn't like something I was starting.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first like joining someone else's project.
Can I ask you, do you ever seek out new collaborators, or is there anybody that you would be interested in collaborating with?
The closest, the closest that I've ever come to doing that was with Francois Bonnet, Castle Jaeger. Because he had one or two records out, and I thought they were great. And I remember telling Peter Rayberg, I was like, oh, this guy's great. And so Peter checked him out, and then he started putting his stuff out on Mego. And I think I just wrote to him, and it ended up that he actually worked at the GRM, and now he's the boss at the GRM. But that was the closest. I actually wrote him a fan letter. And, but it wasn't like, let's do something. It was more like I helped set up some shows for him in Japan. And he came, and we just went to my studio and did stuff. You know, it wasn't like I've never written anyone. Maybe when I was a stupid kid, I did. But like when I was a stupid kid, like in my teenage and early 20s, I know. It's funny because actually Francois sent me just the other day. He found in the archives of the GRM, he found the letter that I had written to GRM in 1990, asking if I could go there. And luckily, it wasn't as embarrassing as I feared it would be. But it would. I mean, it did have things like, I was like, I'm a composer. I was like, oh God. Oh God. It was really
Ouch.
cringy, but it wasn't as cringy as I expected it to be. So yeah, it's almost always their friends first.
Yeah. Oh, what about dead people? Who would you bring back?
Who I bring back? There's a lot of people I bring back. I mean, but I wouldn't bring them back to do something with them. I'd bring them back so they could do more.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'd be happy to, help them,
Yeah.
You dig them up at least.
Yeah. But, I noticed that, like, from 10 years ago, I mean, this is just a personal thing because of, like, the kind of person I am, and I understand that, but it still rubs me the wrong way. I noticed about 10 years ago this kind of wave of, like, young people doing collaborations, with elder statesmen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Big lady. And it would be a collaboration. It's like, their name had to be on the cover with them. It's like, can't you just help them?
Mm-hmm.
Can't you just be a person who helps them?
Yeah.
Why do you have? I just feel it rubs me. I mean, it'd be like me putting my name on the Tony Conrad record on the cover.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Feels exploitative, kind of.
It just feels wrong to me.
Yeah.
It really feels wrong to me. And I know it's a different world than what it was when I was their age. I know that. Mm-hmm. But it kind of rubs me the wrong. I just think you should give back.
Mm-hmm.
You just should give back, and that should be enough for you.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm doing it now. I mean, most of my time is like restoring archives of like composers who I really admire that have passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been working with Loren Kane's daughter now for a couple of years, basically restoring his entire output, which has most of it has never been released. And I'm not taking any, I'm not taking any money.
You're not putting your name on the cover.
Well, I mean, on the credits it says,
Yeah.
That I restored the audio, but like, even to take money for something like that just feels wrong to me, because he's someone I respect, and I know his stuff really well, and helping restore Tony Conrad stuff. It's like, that's all you should do that.
Yeah.
And I personally believe in that. And
so we have that to look forward to.
There's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah.
And I'm more than happy to not go on tour and instead sit in here and restore Rolling Cane recordings. It's for me a much better use of whatever time I have left.
Well, I mean, yeah, I for one really appreciate you doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's good work. It's important work.
People did it before, and that's how I got to find out about things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I have to contribute back.
Yeah.
I have to.
Well, I think we did it, man. I hope to talk to you again real soon, Jim.
Yeah,
this has been lovely.
Yeah, thank you so much for thinking of me for this.
Yeah.
And I hope it wasn't boring.
Not at all.
No.
Well, have a great evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, you too.
You have a lovely afternoon, Jim.
I will try.
Been a pleasure.
Thanks again.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Lots of love.
Be careful.
Okay.
Be safe.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. This has been the 70th episode of Low Profile, featuring the producer and composer Jim O'Rourke. Thanks to my co-host Dylan Shearer and to Lonnie Morrison for the illustration that accompanies today's episode. If you'd like to hear the unedited 2-hour version of this interview, it's available for Patreon supporters. That's at patreon.com/lowprofile. You can find a link on this episode's page at lowprofilepodcast.com, where you'll also find links to Jim's music. Low Profile is produced by me, Markley Morrison, in Olympia, Washington, and receives in-kind support from local businesses San Francisco Street Bakery, Schwartz's Deli, Old School Pizzeria, Rainy Day Records, and Schurler Easy Premium Shitty American Lager from Three Magnets Brewing Company. Thanks to Forrest Edwards for help with music post-production. Thanks for listening.